It is August 11th, 2022. We're at the Pyle Center in Tempe. I'm Michelle Hirsch with Tempe City Council Member Joel Navarro. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me. That's great.
Now we'll ask you a bunch of questions. We like to start with the easy ones, like when and where were you born?
Very easy. I was born right here in Tempe, Arizona. Actually, 1967.
Excellent. And did your family, when did your family settle in Tempe or come to Tempe, or did they?
Yeah, literally right before I was born, they moved from Superior to Tempe. So my mom was in college at Arizona State, and they made the move so she could continue her education, and I came along. I was the baby for a while until another one was born.
So you have one sibling?
I have two.
Oh,
I have
okay.
an older brother and then a younger brother.
Oh,
I was
fun.
right in the middle.
And so tell us a little bit about your parents and maybe how they influenced you. You mentioned your mom was a student at ASU.
Yeah.
What was she studying? And
So she studied education, and she taught at the Tempe Elementary School system for close to 40 years. So she was very in tune to a lot of students. She's got a lot of history herself, to be honest with you, not only in Tempe, but in also Superior and some other places across Arizona. So she was a big influence on my life. Educational, opportunities with her, getting involved with the community at a young age. Both her and my dad. My dad was in Boy Scouts. He was an Eagle Scout himself. I became an Eagle Scout myself when I got into Boy Scouts. So they were both very involved with my life and just raising me right and all that good stuff. At the time when my mom was in school, my dad was working at a steel mill, Marathon Steel, which is actually probably Tempe Sports Complex right now.
Yeah.
So he worked there for a number of years while my mom was going through school, and then he moved on to APS after that.
And do you have some stories you could share about the schools you attended in elementary school? Stories of growing up in Tempe.
Yeah.
Favorite places.
So grew up on Lebanon Terrace, right there on the corner. In fact, the apartment complex, it's a big silver one, is still there. We lived right next door to it, and there was a car junkyard right there. And then we had some smaller apartments right next to it. The man that owned those apartment complexes was from Gunnison, Colorado, World War I vet. And I remember often going into his apartment, and he bought those apartments because Arizona's climate, for whatever elements and reasons, he had to get into that better climate for himself. But often I remember going over there, and he had his pipe he would smoke, and he was probably in his late 80s at the time, and he would tell stories, and it was kind of interesting. But me and my older brother grew up, and we played in the junkyard right across the apartment complex.
Sure.
And we had our injuries over there too, I'm sure. A few cuts and bruises. But it was a lot of fun, and it was in the 60s, 70s, ASU. So the times, I remember just just concern about civil rights, freedoms, and all these things. You're like, I remember the freedom train. Just these things that were coming through that community because I was so close to ASU at the time, and it was just a really neat experience. But from that point, I went to school. My first school was Hudson, in which today I live right down the street from Hudson.
Wow.
So I went to kindergarten there, and then after kindergarten, we moved to, back up. We moved to Meyer first. Meyer was my first school for kindergarten. Then after Meyer, I went to Hudson for like just a half a minute, and then I moved over to Roll School. And it's so funny because we're so close. The schools were. Roll is where Fry's is at now, and so I did Roll School, and then after Roll School, my parents from downtown Tempe on Lebanon Terrace, they moved to the southern part of Tempe, right where the lakes are at.
Okay.
So we're just right next to the lakes on the other side. We weren't really in the lakes at the time. I was always like, oh my God, these are the rich people, But then Rover came open, and I started there at second grade and went through all the way up to sixth grade, Fees was right next door to Rover, and then Marcos Niza right after that. So yeah, it was kind of a fun little era.
And you played sports at Marcos. What did
Yeah.
you play?
So I did football, basketball, baseball, and ran track. I got letters in all of them, except, no, I was on baseball, yeah, varsity. So my varsity year and my junior year, I didn't do it my senior year of baseball, and I kind of wish I did, but I did track, but that was all because the football was kind of taking off for me, and I was getting offers to play in college, and so I kind of focused on football at the very end of my career.
Yeah, because you got an athletic scholarship to New Mexico
State. Mm-hmm.
University.
Yeah,
So
I
fantastic.
actually started off with a few scholarships, Colorado State, and then Iowa State, Northern Iowa, UC Davis, and at the time, how scholarships work, one's offered, but wait, we need a lineman first. But if that lineman doesn't take it, we got another one, type of thing. So those, things happen. But UC Davis was the school I was almost ready to go to after high school. And then I said, you know what, I'll go to junior college first and just see what else happens. So I went to Phoenix College for a semester and then transferred over to Mesa Community College. And actually my coach transferred over too from Phoenix to Mesa. So we pretty much all stayed together. And then I was at Mesa Community College. And then after that, a few more offers, and New Mexico State was the school I chose. So.
Now, do you recall any favorite teachers or stories from high school?
Yeah.
It's past the statute of limitations. So.
Mr. McEwen was one that comes to mind. He was our math teacher. He was like about 6'11", I think. And but man, he ran a strict show. I remember you come in late to class. You already had the sentences already up on the board, and you know how many times you have to write it. And so he really loved to catch an athlete, screwing up. And so he might have got me once or twice, just walking in late. But he comes to mind, and Mrs. Garcia, who was my Spanish teacher, she was a ton of fun, full of energy. They both were just those memorable high school moments, how they got along with the students and how they taught. It just kind of made high school, and they both passed away, but they both were just great influences. Yeah.
It's really fun.
There's so many more too.
Yeah, it's so fun to talk to people that have a long history in Tempe, because I'm sure you have friends, neighbors, that you're still talk to and friends with, and so is there anybody you'd like to mention that maybe you hung around with or that you played sports with? Or,
yeah. I think what comes, probably the first one that comes to mind is my friend Curtis Barton, who actually now owns the Noon Times.
Oh.
And I've known him since second grade, and then
How fun is that?
Yeah, it's totally fun. And then along then Jeff Gregory and Greg Haynes. Actually, Greg Haynes was another guy I knew since second grade, and both me and Greg received scholarships to competing schools when we played in the Mountain West Conference, or actually it was the time it was the Big West Conference, which was a lot of fun. Because after high school we both at least got to see each other every now and then, on the football field. Jeff Gregory, Greg Haynes, Eric Miller, John Colby, Nathan Pennington. I mean, they were a group of 10, Brent Dunn, Chris Maniszewski. These guys were, some of them went to different schools with McClintock, but we all kind of grew up together in some middle schools and stuff like that. And we all kind of still keep in touch. There's like a good core of the 10 of us that still keep in touch, and every year or every couple of years we go up to Prescott and sit back and just kind of share stories where we're at and everything like that. So it's kind of neat.
So fun. Now, did you work outside of sports? Did you work at a job in high school or in college? Or
Yeah,
did you focus on sports?
Yeah, I remember at high school, was lifeguard during the summer. Started off at Golfland, and then actually Big Surf in between. Kind of moved into college years also. Garcia's, when Garcia's was open on Southern and McClintock area. I worked over there for a little bit. But then soon after that, once I got into school and college, I had a full ride scholarship, so they won't let you work,
Mm-hmm.
except for the summers, and every now and then I got a summer job in, just real quick.
So you graduated from Marcos in what year?
1986.
86. And then from college in what year?
1991.
Okay. And so your degree was in, remind me.
Advertising design.
Okay, advertising design. And did you go on and do advertising design, or
Yeah,
what did you do?
actually I loved it. It was the creating ads, radio ads, TV ads, magazine, whatnot. Kind of went through the journalism department at New Mexico State. It was great. In fact, my counterpart in college, he was also on my football team, and he was also from Arizona, from Apache Junction. And me and him had this real creative, vibe that we kind of just spun off of. And I was really like, I don't want to do this. And I was fortunate. I had an uncle at the time that was in Chicago that was in the advertising business. He was an art director. After Leo Burnett is the place I think he worked for. But they did a lot of commercials you would see on TV. In fact, he came up with the slogan, "Choosy Mothers, Choose Jif."
Yeah.
He doesn't get any royalties from it, but he came up with that slogan, which has often been used, probably still to this day. But at the time when I graduated, it was just, he's like, I can't even get you in the mailroom. There's just not hiring at the time, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And after college, I took a job to take a job. It probably wasn't the job I wanted to do, but it was in retail, working at a drugstore. And I actually moved to Vegas for about 6 months, being a manager of a store. And I was just like, this is just not me. I was in North Las Vegas. That store was getting knocked off a couple of times. I actually gave chase to a couple, which I kind of like stopped and, okay, they got a knife, I don't, I'm gonna go back, But after that, I noticed at the store, these firefighters come in and just smiles and, shopping and, buying their stuff. And I'm like, that's me, So I just decided, I'm done here, go back home. Actually went back to school and got a secondary education from Ottawa University. And at the time, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go in the educational track, but at the same time, I was applying for the fire department jobs. In fact, Chicago down to Denver, Colorado Springs, all around the cities around here. And it was a process because I didn't know anything about the fire department. I didn't know anybody in the fire department. I just came in and took a test. I'm like, I could study for this. I didn't even know I could study for this. And then I slowly found out it's all about studying and connections and trying to, do the work to get in there. So I quickly started doing that. And then the Phoenix test came up, and I passed that one first time, and I was like, okay, cool. And I was still, I got an interview process. Those are hard. Usually it takes a few times. And I just thought, why not? Passed it the first time, and I was like, cool, I got on. And just as soon as I got on, I got done with my secondary education degree, and I had a job offer at McClintock High School. And I was like, because there was a real part of me, I really do love teaching. I love coaching. But yet the fire department was just really thrilling, and I'm so glad I made that choice. So I've been doing that forever.
Now, did I read you did do your student teaching at Tempe High, though? So you
Yes.
did some teaching.
Yeah, I did some teaching. I did some teaching, and actually remember I got paid for it because I had some classes they gave me the following year.
So Phoenix Fire Department, and you started out as a paramedic?
Oh, well, you start off as a EMT.
Okay.
And then firefighter EMT, and then when the opportunity comes up to have a paramedic class, I put my name in it, and I got it. And I've been a medic for, probably about 24 years now.
Now, is it as fun as it looked when you were watching the guys come in the store?
Yes. In fact, where I'm at now, I'm a deputy chief at Sky Harbor Airport. I oversee the stations over there and their ARF program and all the airport stuff. And I talk to the director of the airport, and I also talk to my fire chief, and I'm the guy in the middle negotiating sometimes between certain things we need. But I do miss being in the field. It was fun. Probably the best part about it is not just going on calls, making a difference, fighting fire, really having great outcomes on patients that were like, wow, we did that type of thing, to where I'm at today. Or the other plus side of that is when it's time to go home, I just go home. Don't have to worry about it because there's 2 other shifts that are taking care of it.
Yeah.
And then when I come back, It's not like now, if I go home, they're still hitting me with emails and they're still calling me because I'm the guy that I have to answer to everybody.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Totally different.
Well, tell us a little bit about your immediate family, your wife, your kids.
Yep. So, married to my wife. I've been married for 7.5 years going on. She is wonderful and great. She is probably the biggest savior in my life, so to speak, I think, because I was had some wobbly relationships, and she she is so solid, and the kids love her. She's the stepmom to 3 of my kids.
We like to call that bonus mom.
Oh yeah, totally is, and they really do enjoy her. They really do look up to her, so I'm very proud of that. I was married before, had two kids with my wife previously, and then that didn't work out. I had another kid in another relationship, and that just didn't work out. But I'm so blessed with my kids. They're wonderful and great. My little one, Navarro, he is now a 7th grader. He's growing, he's big, his voice is changing, all that good stuff. He's a little athlete. He loves football and basketball. And so we try to do all that stuff, and have that opportunity to have some fun with that. I have my middle son, Parker Navarro. He's now at Ohio University. He's my other little athlete. He actually received multiple offers for football. He's a quarterback that played at Desert Vista, and Arizona State even offered him, but he ended up going to UCF, Central Florida, and just a real good program. But right when the coach brought him in, Josh Heupel, who's now at Tennessee, a new coach took over because he took the Tennessee job, and the politics of football, and I'm going to bring my kids in. So the portal came into the picture, and which I didn't have when I was in college. And so we went to the portal, which is a little nerve-wracking because you're giving up a scholarship and hope to get a scholarship. And thank God he had 10 offers in the portal, so it helped me out. But now he's playing at Ohio University, and he's there today, and he's competing, hopefully for that starting job, as every quarterback is trying to do. But he's having a great time. Beautiful town, beautiful city, Athens, Ohio. And then my daughter, who is, I think is my little stud, she is also a little athlete too. She's the type of girl, compared to my 2 boys, they kind of analyze, okay, I'm doing my arm motion, am I doing like this? She just picks up a ball and let's just go do it, skateboard, whatever it is. Now she'll figure it out real quick.
And what's her first name?
Jillian Navarro.
Cute.
And she went to Desert Vista also. Multiple sports, from soccer. She even played football and tackle football. And it was at an age where she was the same size as the boys, and she really bugged me every single day. Can I play? Can I play? Can I play? Okay, we finally did, and she played quarterback, and she could throw the ball. And she turned some heads, and it was pretty impressive. But she went on soccer, lacrosse. She would, like lacrosse, never ever played it, made varsity, and then finally softball. And she received a scholarship a few places, and she ended up at Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois.
Ah, yeah. So that's where she is now.
And she graduated.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. She did graduate from Peoria, or from Bradley, in a marketing degree, and then now she's working at Caterpillar, which is the big, manufacturing. They're kind of based out of Peoria, and she's there right now working, but she also wants to be a firefighter.
Oh, wow. Now, do you think she'll come back to Tempe, or she might just be a firefighter there?
Yeah, she might. She does live in the Midwest. She likes that area, and she likes the Tennessee area, and she has some friends out there in that. I know there's a person that's at the Phoenix Fire Department that she knows, and She could get some help if she asked me.
Exactly.
So there is an opportunity, her coming back here and testing out here too. So I told her it's a process. You don't just show up and you get a job. You truly have to study and earn it. So here's your go.
Well, it's clear that someday when someone is doing this and interviewing your kids, they'll say their dad was definitely an influence on them between the athletics and some of their activities. That's really exciting that you've been able to influence them and guide them.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really just fun, just them being active after school. That was my pet peeve. You're going to do something. I don't care what it is, but you're
Yeah, clearly they weren't sitting around playing video games or all the time anyway. Tell us about some of the community organizations you've been involved with. I know there's several, but it's really impressive, the list of organizations you've been a part of. One I know is Tempe Leadership. Is it class of 19? Sometimes I don't know the X1X, so class of 19. And so I think it'd be fun to share a little bit about what Tempe Leadership is and then some of the other organizations you've helped out.
No, Tempe Leadership actually was my favorite. It was, I really didn't know what I was getting into, but people were like, hey, you gotta do it, just gotta do it. And I was like, all right, fine. So I dedicated my time. It was every other Friday for a year. And I tell you what, just meeting the people in my class and what, they did various other things, part of Tempe, not part of Tempe, part of the business community, whatever it may be. And it was just neat to get to know them. It was neat to get to know the city process and understand the city process more than I could ever have known. It was just from police, fire, public works to the library, social work, and you name it, we were doing it, to key businesses around the community, and then doing our project where we did a video for a nonprofit and try to help them out. But it was the collaboration, the just working together, and we see each other kind of every now and then, and especially with the other classes coming up, we sometimes catch ourselves at those events, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But I think kind of building up to that point, I think my parents, my mom especially, just, hey, you're gonna do activities, you're gonna get involved in the community, and we're gonna help out. And coaching became natural, and I just volunteered to coach wherever I was at. It was just those kind of things. To Boy Scouts, which was probably the catalyst of really getting myself involved in various things. I ran a Meals on Wheels for a whole summer as my Eagle project, but then it was just various things that we did within scouting that really kind of opened my eyes to various things in the community and then the state. The hikes we've been on, the 60-mile hikes, as a young kid, I remember the blisters on my toes. But it was probably the most memorable experience, doing those things. To getting involved in the Human Relations Commission, which was another big thing. It was at a time where we're really making changes, especially changes in city policy, which are reflected today. I was the chair of that group, and just kind of guiding them and getting those issues dealt with.
And that was before you ever ran?
Ran, yeah. And then I ran. and I
did
made
somebody say, hey, you should run for city council, or did you just have some exposure and think, now this is what I want to do? Or what kind of prompted you?
No, someone did say, hey, you should run for city council.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, never really thought of that. I was like, what do they do? And then I said no. Then a couple of years later, hey, you should run for city council. And I was like, I don't know. Hey, you should run for city council again, after the third time. And I was like thinking about it. And I think it was really after Tempe Leadership. I was like, you know what? This is really interesting. I really would like to do this. And I think after I thought about it, it was like, yeah, I enjoy Tempe so much, and I enjoy what Tempe could be, and the past councils and the moves that they make, and especially when I was playing college football, we would travel all over the place, and you see these towns, and or you meet these people from these different places, and you're like, but Tempe's got that, but Tempe could do this, and that kind of got my curiosity. And then also just start questioning, like, why are we doing this? Why not this? Don't we have a plan? Who's making the plans?
That's how a good city council person thinks.
Right. So it was more of I want the best city, the coolest city, the most vibrant city, but yet still have a real, like we do, in my opinion, we have neighborhoods that are just really involved and really just Mayberry kind of thing, you know. And still people know people, you know, and I think that's really huge. So it's like we got this cool city today, in my opinion. I just came back from a conference and I told people where I'm from, and this National League of Cities conference, and it's council members and mayors from everywhere. And I just described some things, what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I told you we have this lake, and oh yeah, by the way, that lake's the second most visited lake in the state. They're like, besides the Grand Canyon? Yeah. And it's like, what? I've never been to this place, you know? So it's just, it really does give me a lot of joy to see what we're creating and what we're trying to deliver. And I know there's issues, and I love challenges with the issues. It's probably my downfall. It's the same thing with the fire department. It's the same thing why I'm a firefighter. You have an issue, I'm gonna solve it. And I'm gonna solve it right now, and we're gonna get an end result. It's probably the most gratifying work being a firefighter, but it's the same thing with council. You know, knowing there's an issue, it might take a little bit longer, but it's the fact of trying to figure out the solution to the puzzle and knowing there's sides that have issues. I'm leaning this way, or I'm going to lean this way on the issue, but it's how you best take in, you know, what you learned, giving people the image of what you stand for. I tell people I'm X, Y, and Z, and if you like that, then vote for me. But if not, I'm not your guy. Because I see the vision of these things. That's how I see it. And I think that majority of the people might see the same as I do. So trust me with this, you know, type of thing.
Now, so the first time you ran and won was 2008.
Yes.
And then, let's do the math, 2012.
Right.
And then again 2016.
16.
And that must mean 2020 you ran again.
And then 24 is coming up.
Yeah. And so what are some of those things that you say, if these are your values, if these are the things that you care about in Tempe, you know, I'm your guy. What are some of those things that you care about and you champion? And
I care about, I care about smart growth. I care about, you know, making sure a town economically can withstand the storm. I mean, we went through a pandemic, we went through it on the downfall, and I have to say, and listening to other towns and cities, wow, we did it because we have a variety of things. We have great schools, we have great parks, we have a major university, we have businesses that are moving in. We're having a vibrant downtown now. We're having potential of a new arena coming in. We have, you know, all these things that have potential and value. When you have that portfolio of things that we have in these neighborhoods, and just the basic mom and pop stores, which those are the things I'm really proud about. You show that you have economic strength. And when you have that economic strength, you can still do the services that the public wants, and you can do them at a high level. And I treasure that. I also treasure how our streets look. I treasure how our neighborhoods look. I'm the guy that everyone is like, oh, Joel loves trees. And I'm like, well, yeah, I do like trees. I like coordination of trees. I like design. That's my advertising design, my art design. It's like, I want to see things that have visually just makes me like, God, yeah, that's great planning. You don't, and people don't notice it sometimes, but when you go into other states and other communities, you see how they arrange things, or you see how the feel of things, or the plants, how they plant and where they plant, or the maintenance and the upkeep. Those are like my pet peeves, just the appearance of the city and trying to help that appearance out, because we are an old town. And we didn't do things like the newer towns did, where development comes, okay, that's your right of way, and you're going to do X, Y, and Z in this right of way, and you're going to maintain it. Not the city. Well, the city does that on the majority of our right of ways, where other cities, the developer does that stuff. So it's all that stuff, and it's really doing even all the services, the little services, the issues. Opioid addiction is one of the things I'm trying to champion for the last 7 years, or how long it's been now since I started at a think tank in Washington, D.C. But it's one of those things where we're getting real momentum now. I know the pandemic kind of slowed us down a little bit on the topic, but when there's things like services like that can help our community, and me having a public safety background, I truly want to see those services explored. We talk about changing policing or everything like that. We still need policing. I support my police officers, but there are some things that can be off their plate. There are some things that we can do that are better and have a better result. When we talk about social services and community outreach, Care 7, tremendous program, underplayed, underscored a lot. and people don't even see them a lot, to be honest, in my opinion, but they are the backbone of dealing with problems that 911 can't deal with, and they're hard problems. And those are the people and those are the services I care about and trying to like get enhanced on more, because when you do things like that within a community, when you do the little things, the thoughtful things, people might not recognize it, but when they really need it, they're like, wow, I can't believe you did it. One example, today in the first floor or at City Hall, a family of 3 kids and a wife, and a father and or a mother, and dad and mom, just came up to, I was just standing there by the security guard, and they're like, hey, I just lost my job. I just lost my job. I can't pay rent. I'm living in a hotel. I have $108. I'm living in a hotel right now. I don't know if I can make it tomorrow. I don't know what to do, but someone said there's a service up here that you guys can help me with. I call it Rent Assist on the service. Rent Assist. Yes, we can help you. I'm gonna get some people. We got Care 7 on board, had them come down. Let's get you some temporary housing. Let's figure out something for you so you can get back on your feet. The guy was a worker. He was a craftsman. He did homes and redid homes and things like that. He just didn't have any work. And let's figure it out. And those are the things that we provide in Tempe. And how do we provide it? Because our city has a mix and just a mixed use of variety of things of opportunity, from ASU, from a stadium district, from a marketplace, from whatever it is. When you make an eclectic city like we do, it's a city of opportunity to that person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just to be able to make that kind of difference for somebody. And you know it takes a lot for people to ask for help. So just to, wow, yeah. I'm going to try not to cry. Let's ask some fun, maybe some shops or restaurants that you loved as a kid or growing up. Even now, some may not be there anymore, like Marathon Steel, where your dad worked, isn't there anymore. But did you have some favorites that you enjoyed as a family?
Yeah, my dad worked at Shakey's Pizza, which is now Boondocks. I don't know, it's on Broadway. It's a brand new restaurant. It's still the bones of Shakey's Pizza. But yeah, I remember that one. I remember Farrell's.
Farrell's,
yeah.
Broadway and McClintock.
Broadway and Dorsey,
yep.
right there. Yeah. Where they came in on the big ice cream tray and rang all the bells, and I was like, as a kid, I was like, oh, we're going to Farrell's. This is the best. Those always come to mind. Oh my God, I'm not blanking the name right now, but Nello's Pizza. Yeah, Nello's Pizza was another one.
Favorite.
Yeah, and I just loved it. It was always those mom and pops. Although Jack in the Box had a special place in my heart.
Taco Bell.
Yeah, but it was really a lot of those mom and pops. Nello's, Minetti's. I remember them.
When they were in South Minetti's. They had the best sauce. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I asked this question around dinner and I get hungry. That's fun to think about, though. It's been fun that you have shared your travels, whether it's a conference or meeting with other council members and mayors, and we like to ask, how have your travels influenced how you think about Tempe? And you have shared that. If there's anything else you'd like to add, that would be okay too, but it's I wanted to add that it's sometimes people don't realize that by interacting with other cities and mayors and council people, you get a sense of what other cities do, but then you also get to share what Tempe is doing. Right. And in a similar vein, something I love that you do is your Java with Joel. I went to one years ago, and I was just so impressed how you really listen to everybody. And so tell us how that was inspired and what that is.
That was inspired because a couple things. I would just like go to meetings, and it seems like, have you guys listened to the people? Have you listened? And I wanted to do things different than what we're told to do as a councilman. Well, you can go to this meeting, go to this meeting. I'm like, yeah, I can, but that meeting's just on this. I want to talk about some other things. And so I kind of fought for the job with Joel. And also at the time, going to the council, I was like, I'm making sacrifices. I got a family, I got to work, I got kids, and I'm involved with my kids. I'm not going to cut that out. So I needed something on my time too, and Job with Joel was on my time. And I wanted to talk about topics that were, in my position was hot topics. We talked about homelessness. We talked about affordable housing. I brought in a professor on real estate to talk about affordable housing, to get a whole perspective from the 40s to the 50s to the 80s to the 2050s and the trends and stuff, which was stuff that I because we're always talking about it at our council meetings. So I want to get people on a discussion, and I want to get the people that were the naysayers. I personally called them. I want you to come to, let's have a conversation about this. The civil uprising, just the protesting and stuff. I was like, let's get some people to talk about it. So that was important to me. I thought those were really, really cool things. You're saying something about the influence of other cities.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that stands with me from National League of Cities is I met a doctor that was a council member in, I want to say, Wisconsin, Minnesota area. And he was on my public safety committee, and he was talking about a program that he was trying to do in his community, teaching everybody CPR. At the time, there's new compressions only CCR that was just coming out, and I just learned about it. And when we were talking about it, we just are learning about this. It's supposed to be great. The studies are there. It's a little more friendly than CPR. It still does great outcomes, and we should be able to teach it. He's like, yeah, I'm trying to get that in my school districts, but I'm just having roadblocks. What I'm trying to do is get in these classes and have these kids learn it and teach it, and I just can't figure it out. And I was like, I love that idea. And I go, I'm gonna do that. I get back home, I made some calls, I talked to some people. We started off with an assembly at Tempe High, news team there, and everyone learned how to do CCR, just compressions only. And I thought it was just a hit. I'm like, how do we keep it going? To this day, we keep it going. Every health class in all the schools in Tempe School District, high schools, they have to learn CCR. We've already had 5 saves from different students that just knew it, had some event happen, and they started compressions. And it's tremendous, the stories that come back. And that was like just a process of building and get people to instruct, and it's made an impact. And I came back to that conference and I told that guy, he was like, right on. So then he used my template, and he helped get his city back on board, and some other cities did that too. And then to this day, the opioid stuff that I'm working on, that is another educational thing, to where I'm like, well, I got this program in there. We're also going to couple it with opioid awareness and just have an idea of what opioids do and what they can do to any person. And I had personal experience on giving Narcan and seeing opioid addiction, and I know firsthand what it does. And but that wasn't enough. Well, not only were we doing that in the high schools, but we also did that for all the athletes. So whenever your kid would join a sport, they had to watch this concussion video. Well, why don't we also have an opioid video? Because they do get hurt, and doctors do prescribe, and let's get an awareness. To this day now, the state of Arizona has to have the opioid video with a concussion video. So it's a real big hit.
Yeah,
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. And the just the multiplying the awareness just by doing that is huge. Right. Wow. Very exciting and impressive, and thank you. Sometimes this is a little bit awkward to ask, but I love this question because it helps people reflect a little bit. And that is, how would you like your kids, your family, your friends to, we say remember you, but think of you. What would you like them to think of you and remember you? 100 years from now, or it doesn't have to be 100 years probably, but what do you hope to be imparting? Would you like them to think about you, your kids, and your descendants?
I'm gonna think about that. I want them to think positive about me for sure. I want my kids to, it's always that struggle as a very parent. I mean, I want to be the fun dad, so to speak, but I also have to be the serious dad, and I had to do, make moves to make sure that my kids are doing the right things. Maybe it's not the funnest thing to do, but at the end of the day, I just hope that it's kind of like when you grow up, you kind of like, yeah, now I see what my dad was saying. Now I see what my mom was saying. It might take some years, but you reflect on that, and I hope to get to my kids a little bit earlier. Growing up, and I think I'm doing it. I mean, my kids are investing at a young age, and I'm like, so proud of you. I wish I would have
Yeah.
done that. They're just asking the right questions. They're just exploring the right way. I'm always like, just fail. Just put yourself in a hard position. Counsel was a hard position. I put myself in so many hard positions, and I'm like, I'm not that smart. I can't figure this out. It'll take me 12 times to understand it, and then I will. Or some people might, get it just like that. I just have to absorb it a little bit more. But at the same time, I'm pushing myself, and I want them to live their life. I want them to try new things, do new things, discover new things. Challenge yourself. That's the biggest thing. Challenge yourself to where if you don't do it, you might have that regret. So, I hope they see that from me is just the knowing to challenge yourself. I hope they think of me as fun too, my friends and everybody else like that. But I just enjoy life. Just enjoy it.
That's a great example and a great lesson for kids especially, and sometimes friends too. Sometimes our friends around us need to think that same exact way.
Right.
Is there anything about your life or even Tempe that I didn't ask you that you thought, oh, I'd love to share that story, or I'd love to talk about this or that to do with my family or Tempe?
I'm sorry, once again, the story of Tempe?
Well, yeah, if there's anything I didn't ask, and you thought, oh, I'd love to share that story about my life in Tempe, or I'd love to talk about this that I'm involved with, or you have such a wonderful breadth of things that you've been involved with from, a young person to now. So you have a lot of great examples. I just don't want to leave out if you thought, oh, I'd love to talk about this or share about this. So this is a good chance if you would like to add something. This is a good time.
There's so many, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. I don't know why something comes to mind. It was fun. It was a race between old Mayor Hugh Hallman on his 10-man run that he does before the or the Ironman. Mm-hmm. And it's 1/10 of the Ironman. So it's a 25-meter swim, maybe a mile bike ride if that, and a 200-meter run. And I did triathlons at the time. I'm like, oh, I got this thing down, first time I did it. And I'm looking at Mayor Hallman, and he's got a bike helmet on and shoes on, ready to go in the water. And I'm like, what are you doing? And so he goes in the water. He comes out just a little bit behind me, but I stopped to put on my shoes. He's on the bike going, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I get on my bike after trying to get my shoes on, and I'm going, and I'm trying to chase after him, and I can only remember when he crossed the finish line, him looking back at me and pointing at me, and I was like, I got you next year. And I got it next year from him, but
that is a great story.
It was a fun one.
Oh my gosh, that is a great story. We can't help but thank you for your service in so many ways and your involvement in the community. What do you see, what are you excited about in the future? Are you going to run in 2024? Is it too soon to ask that? Or
yeah, I'm kicking that around.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of part of me still loves. I do love this, especially when you work with another city, and in this city, at least I can decide an outcome, where I'm fighting an outcome in another city. So it's kind of the reward of that. But I just like the issues. I like the challenges. Like I said, I really do. So I'm just thinking about that and just kind of seeing what happens. It's kind of too soon.
Yeah.
But
we do like to open it up in case anybody else here would like to ask you some questions.
Yeah.
So this is Dwayne Roan, and before I ask a question, I want to briefly mention that I wish your program had been in northern Wisconsin. A nephew in high school had a football injury, had knee surgery, was prescribed, and 6 years later he was dead.
Yep.
Yeah. So I wish they had that program that you developed. I recently read a survey that said one of the biggest reasons people don't get involved in their communities is they don't have a clue about how to do it. What advice can you give to people about how to find ways to get involved?
I would say figure out the leadership programs, whatever it is. they will always touch the community in whatever type of leadership programs are out there. I think that's actually a real nice start. Get involved in if you don't know your city, get involved in a board or commission. Something that you like, Parks and Rec, whatever it may be, human relations, it doesn't matter. Get involved that way. The other thing is just got to take that dive. You know, I think that if you feel you got something to really do for Tempe and really kind of push Tempe along or whatever city along, do it. You know, don't sit there idle. I mean, I think we all can sit there like, I wish I had done that, I wish I had done that. Do it. You know, you just got to do it. It's a tough road because you put yourself out there, you open up your personal life to a degree. And sometimes, you know, with me, I'm like, well, I don't hide anything, and you know, here I go. You know, it is what it is, and you know, they can make fun of it or do whatever they want with it. I don't care. At the end of the day, I just want to do something good for the community. That's about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being an inspiration.
No, appreciate it. Thank you.
This is Mike Ostler. If you were predicting the future for Tempe and thinking about 10, 20 years out, what do you think will be different? And what are the trends do you think that will happen with the city?
It's like scooters. I didn't know we would have scooters all down the streets. You know, I'm curious on if down the road our offices or just work from home is more acceptable now. It seems to be working that way. And I'm wondering if that alone, you know, makes more of a community. And I think of Europe. I don't know why, because in Europe it's like at lunch, but lunch could be from 11 to 3, you know, and it's just I'm going to open up. But I'm curious if we get back to a more community, social, you know, enjoy, you know, life type of experience and just appreciate life. You know, those are some things that come up. Also, just, you know, our transportation. You know, our electric. I mean, we're looking in 20 years, maybe half the cars being electric across the United States. You know, just what is the next technology that's going to move us around? I'm curious on that. We're talking about drones dropping packages off for us and all that good stuff. So there's another one, like how do we compete with the all these drones up in the air if that were to happen? You know, I don't know. It's fun, but at the end of the day, I think Tempe has got the bones for sure, where we're located, the position where we're at, what we can do with what we do have, and yet I think it's being diverse, like I said, having everything that every community wants, and we got a little bit of all that.
Exciting.
Hi, I'm Michelle Keeney. The 9/11 anniversary is coming up in about a month, and this will be the 20th anniversary of the National Day of Service and Remembrance, to remember the fallen by serving the living. This is probably meaningful to you because of your work as in the fire department. So one of the things Tempe does is the healing field with flags at Town Lake, you know, with over 3,000 flags in honor of, to recognize those
Yeah.
who lost their lives in that tragedy. But my question is related to other service opportunities in relation to the event. Maybe, I'm not putting you on the spot, but maybe you could think about it and let us know if you can think of other needs in Tempe that community members could help with that day. Because they have enough volunteers pretty much for the healing field.
Right, setting it up, getting it ready.
Setting up and taking down, but we're looking for other things we can do to help with the cemeteries or different things that the city has needs for lots of people to come and help that day or that weekend.
Yeah, and when you said cemeteries, that was a good one, because that was an issue that has been brought up on just kind of how we keep our upkeep on our cemeteries and kind of make them more noticeable and recognizable and appreciative. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. Yeah, that's really great. Thank you. That's good.
Thank you for being with us. It seems to me that you're a dynamic leader that everyone would just love to be around and be on your boat. I feel like it probably takes quite a bit of finesse or talent to bring different groups, as you're talking about, together and kind of unify them to proceed in a way that their vision is. Is there some techniques or recipe for helping to bring a unity to different groups?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Thank you. I really think it's just really understanding people, you know, and first off, not everyone judges. I hate to say this. Everyone judges, and you might have biasm. I don't like cheese, and you know, so you know, things like that. But I think it's listening. It's just really listening. I have to say, probably the fire department really got me well adjusted, because I might come into a situation and be like, this, I can see that, I know what's going on here, and then I listen, and it's not that, and it's like, oh, I totally misjudged that. I totally didn't sit and listen, and then you're exposed to something, then you think about it, you're like, God, you know, wow, that's a hard time, and I see how it happened, you know, and it's like, I can understand that, I can relate to that. So I got to see a lot of really unique situations, I think, in the fire department, and at the same time, I learned not to sit and judge on that situation. People live in different ways and different styles and whatever. Situations happen because of whatever interaction, you know. So it's in my position, I just really, I think I understand people in situations. I might be off, I might be on, but I sit and try to listen to what they have, and then when I understand it, then I can have some sort of knowledge on how to proceed. Because I know your style, I know your style a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's going to be right in here, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's not going to be everybody's style, because you can't please everybody, so to speak. And then it's just really just kind of, you know, I enjoy the conversations like this. That's why I like the coffee talks. It's a little bit smaller, but it's also the other thing of, wow, you know, I'm a sounding board, you know, from different people. Maybe I'm on the right track. Maybe I wasn't on the right track, you know, and that's happened to me too. I'm like, I missed that. And so, but it's I think it's also being able to be, don't have an ego so much, you know, saying that I'm right, you know, it's my way. It's like, I can be wrong. Anybody can be wrong. And we've done that over and over again, and we learn from that stuff. So the other thing is I have to deal with a bunch of egos at work in the fire department. So managing those, you know, is patience too. And but yeah, I just think it's just a little bit of everything through life experiences.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think you're just a spectacular
I
person.
appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Definitely. Thank you, Joel, for your long-time love and passion and dedication to Tempe, your service and your example, and listening, whether it's on council and the different perspectives or the different issues or the community members in your job with Joel and your work all in the community. Just thank you so much, and we appreciate you sharing your stories with us and being part of our
I
project.
appreciate you guys and your time and doing this. This is awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was really cool. Thanks, guys.